Morning, Shrimani. Good morning, Basha.
गुड मॉर्निंग मैडम।
क्या मेरी आवाज आ रही है अच्छी?
हाँ अच्छा आ रहा है मैडम आवाज।
Shrimani, switch on your video. Angle check చేసుకోవచ్చు. Good morning, Murthy sir. భరతున్నాడా?
మేడం గుడ్ మార్నింగ్. గుడ్ మార్నింగ్ మేడం.
ఓకే, కాలేజ్ లో ఉన్నారా? ఏంటి భరత్ ఎలా ఉన్నావు?
భరత్ ఎలా ఉన్నాను?
మేడం గుడ్ మార్నింగ్ మేడం.
గుడ్ మార్నింగ్, ఎలా ఉన్నావు?
బాగున్నా మేడం.
ఎన్ని రోజుల తర్వాత మీ అందరిని చూస్తున్నా. ఇంకేంటి కాలేజ్
అంతా బాగున్నా. మీరు బాగున్నారా మేడం?
భరత్
సార్ చెప్పండి సార్. భాష
ఇంట్లో కరెంట్ లేదు. అదే మిమ్మల్ని హోస్ట్ చేస్తున్నా.
కరెంట్ పోయిందా?
కరెంట్ పోయింది మేడం ఇంట్లో. హోస్ట్ చేస్తాను నేను. మేడం ఇంకో లెక్చర్ పేరు ఏం పేరు మేడం? సార్ పేరు
శైల ప్రసాద్.
ఇంకా రాలే మేడం. ఇంకో సార్ పేరు మేడం?
సార్ పేరు ఎవరున్నారు? స్నేహకిరణ్ సార్. కానీ వాళ్ళు ఈ వెబినార్ లో లేరు, ఉట్టిగా వస్తారు అంతే. శ్రీమణి మేడం, స్నేహకిరణ్, లావణ్య మేడం.
శ్రీమణి మేడం, మీరు, లావణ్య మేడం. లావణ్య మేడం కూడా రాలేదు మేడం.
లావణ్య మేడం
రాలేదు.
శ్రీమణి, హలో
మ్యామ్. గుడ్ మార్నింగ్. గుడ్ మార్నింగ్ మ్యామ్.
గుడ్ మార్నింగ్. నీ వీడియో ఆన్ చేయమ్మా, యాంగిల్ చూసుకుందాం ఎట్లా. కొంచెం డార్క్ వస్తుంది అది.
డార్క్ ఉందా మ్యామ్?
యాంగిల్ చేంజ్ చేసుకో.
మేడం శైల ప్రసాద్ సార్ రాదు మేడం. ఇంకా
కాల్ చేస్తాను.
లావణ్య మేడం కూడా రాలేదు.
శైల ప్రసాద్ సార్ కాల్ చేయవా? లావణ్య మేడం.
యా మ్యామ్.
మ్యూట్ పెట్టుకొని మాట్లాడండి మేడం.
ఎస్ ఎస్.
శ్రీమణి మేడం గుడ్ మార్నింగ్.
మాట్లాడుతాం.
సార్ గుడ్ మార్నింగ్ సార్.
శ్రీమణి మేడం గుడ్ మార్నింగ్.
గుడ్ మార్నింగ్ సార్.
వాయిస్ క్లియర్ గానే ఉందా మేడం మీది?
వాయిస్ క్లియర్ ఉంది సార్. మీది? నాది ఎట్లా వస్తుంది సార్?
మీది కూడా సూపర్ మేడం.
థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్.
కొద్దిగా లైటింగ్ కొద్దిగా ఇదిగా ఉంది మేడం, అంటే ఏం లేదు, డల్ వస్తుంది అంతే, ఇంక వేరే అయితే ఏం లేదు, అంతే క్లియర్ ఉంది. కాకపోతే నిన్నంత రాలేదు, ఇది నిన్న క్లియర్ వచ్చింది పిక్చర్.
ఓకే
ఓకే, దాన్ని ఏం డిస్టర్బ్ చేయదు మేడం. ఓకే, అంత సరిపోయింది, బాగానే ఉంది. భాష
నేను భరత్ ని హోస్ట్ చేస్తాను, నా ఛార్జింగ్ అయిపోతుంది.
అదే ఈ లైవ్ అవన్నీ ఆల్రెడీ కలెక్ట్ చేస్తావు కదా నువ్వు.
అంత అయిపోయింది, ఇంకా ఆయన హోస్ట్ చేస్తానే చూసుకోండి.
నెక్స్ట్ ఇంకా దానికి వీళ్ళు గో లైవ్ ఏం కొట్టవసరం లేదు కదా.
ఏం లేదు, అదే లైవ్ లో ఉంది మొత్తం.
లైవ్ లో ఉంది. ఇంకేంటంటే ప్రోగ్రామ్ అయిన తర్వాత ఆ స్ట్రీమ్ ఆఫ్ చేసుకోవడమే యూట్యూబ్ దగ్గర.
అంతే, అదే.
ఓకే, యూట్యూబ్ లింక్ కూడా పంపించలేకపోయావు ఒకసారి బాగా ఇతనికి. హలో భాష, హలో హలో భాష,
అంతే అంతే.
ఇది హలో
పంపిస్తా.
యూట్యూబ్ లింక్ నా దగ్గర మొబైల్ లేదు, అది మన భరత్ పంపించు.
పంపిస్తా.
ఎందుకంటే ఒక సిస్టమ్ లో లింక్ లో కూడా నేను ఉంటాను.
సార్ పంపిస్తా.
ఓకే, నెక్స్ట్ ఏం చేయాలి తీసి నా దగ్గర మొబైల్ లేదు, అది భరత్ పంపించు.
పంపిస్తా.
ఎందుకంటే ఒక సిస్టమ్ లో లింక్ లో కూడా నేను ఉంటాను.
హలో మూర్తి సార్, మూర్తి సార్, హలో హలో భరత్,
చెప్పండి మేడం.
అది లావణ్య మేడం ని యాక్సెప్ట్ అంటే చేయండి.
భాష సార్,
శ్రీమణి
మ్యామ్,
ఏమైందమ్మా సార్?
ల్యాప్టాప్ కనెక్ట్ అవుతున్నారంట మ్యామ్. అనుపమ మ్యామ్, మీరు ఎంత బ్రైట్ గా పడుతున్నారు.
లాస్ట్ టైం డల్గా అయిపోయింది.
ఫుల్ ఫ్లడ్ లైట్స్ పెట్టుకున్నట్టు.
అవునా? ఫస్ట్ టైం ఏమో ఎక్కడ కూర్చోవాలో తెలియలేదు, ఇప్పుడు అంత వెతికి ఒక చోట వెతుకున్నా ఇట్లా. మనకి ఇంకా కాలేజ్ రేపటి నుంచి ఉండొచ్చు అని అంట కదా.
రేపు ఒక్క రోజు పెట్టి మళ్ళీ అగైన్ సెకండ్ సాటర్డే సండే హాలిడే ఇస్తారా మ్యామ్?
అదే అంటున్నారు, ఉంటే రేపటి నుంచి ఉంటది, లేకపోతే మండే నుంచి ఉంటది అనుకుని అంటున్నారు. చూడాలి, మోస్ట్లీ మండే నుంచి పెట్టమని రిక్వెస్ట్ పెడుతున్నాం. ఏమన్నా వచ్చే సెకండ్ సాటర్డే ఎప్పుడన్నా కాంపల్సరీ కింద పోయిందా
మ్యామ్?
ఏం
వచ్చావా?
హలో
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 మేడం, జూమ్ లో మనం 5 మెంబర్స్ ఉన్నాం, యూట్యూబ్ లో 30 దాటారు.
మనము శైలప్రసాద్ సార్ ఇంకా స్పీకర్ వచ్చేస్తే ఇంకా మనకి సెట్ అయినట్టే.
అంతేనా మేడం? అంటే ఇంకా మన స్టూడెంట్స్ ఎవరైనా ఉంటే జూమ్ లో జాయిన్ అవ్వమనండి మేడం.
ఓకేనా? అయితే
ఎందుకంటే 100 వరకు మనకి పర్మిషన్ ఉంది కదా. అందరూ యూట్యూబ్ లింక్ క్లిక్ చేసి జాయిన్ అయిపోతున్నారు. భాష,
లావణ్య నువ్వు మాట్లాడు, నేను ఎట్లా ఉంది చెక్ చేస్తాను.
గుడ్ మార్నింగ్ మ్యామ్, కెన్ యూ హియర్ మీ?
ఎస్ మేడం. లావణ్య మేడం, గుడ్ మార్నింగ్.
గుడ్ మార్నింగ్ సార్.
ఓకే, వాయిస్
మ్యామ్ కి మాటలు.
హలో మేడం, మేడం మీది అన్మ్యూట్ చేయండి మేడం, లావణ్య మేడం, మీది మ్యూట్ లో ఉంది. ఇప్పుడు
అవునా
మాట్లాడండి.
సార్? నో సార్, యాక్చువల్లీ స్టూడెంట్స్ కాల్ చేస్తున్నారు, వాళ్ళు జాయిన్ అవుతున్నారేమో, కాల్ చేస్తున్నారు స్టూడెంట్స్.
మేడం వాళ్ళని జూమ్ లోనే జాయిన్ అవ్వమనండి మేడం. యూట్యూబ్ లోకి
ఓకే
ఏమో
సార్.
ఆల్రెడీ 40కి వెళ్ళిపోయారు.
ఓకే సార్.
శ్రీమణి నువ్వు కూడా చెప్పమ్మా పిల్లలకి.
ఓకే మ్యామ్.
మేడం స్టూడెంట్స్ మాత్రం యూట్యూబ్ లో జాయిన్ కమ్మని మేడం, జూమ్ లో వద్దు
అరే
మేడం.
ఇప్పుడే మూర్తి సార్ జూమ్ లో
కాదు
జాయిన్ కమ్మనండి అని
భాష,
చెప్పినారు.
నీకు అక్కడ పెరిగిపోతుంది కానీ ఇక్కడ లేరు. స్ట్రెంత్ 6 ఉన్నాం చూడు.
Good morning, sirs and ma'ams. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Good
you
morning.
are
Good morning,
audible.
sir.
Yeah.
Most awaited person. Yeah,
No, ma'am.
I'm waiting for you only.
I am trying to connect with both mobile
Okay, okay.
as well as this one, because if at all power cut, then again I have to run here and there.
Yeah, even I have the same problem. Like around this time only, the power is going at my place.
Yes. Let me log in through mobile. భాషా సార్ కాస్త మొబైల్ నుంచి కూడా లాగిన్ అవుతాను, అలౌ చేయండి.
అవును, నేను కూడా మొబైల్ నుంచి లాగిన్ చేసి పెట్టుకుంటాను. మూర్తి సార్, భాషా సార్, సైమల్టేనియస్ గా అవ్వచ్చు అట్లా. భాషా సార్,
సార్ 80 పీపుల్ జాయిన్ అయిపోయారు కదా సార్.
జూమ్ లోనా?
షగుఫ్తా మ్యామ్ కూడా జాయిన్ అవుతున్నారు.
ఇది లావణ్య, వన్ థింగ్ యూ నీడ్ టు కీప్ ఇట్ ఇన్ మైండ్. ఇది నీది అయిపోయాక ఇమీడియట్లీ యూ నీడ్ టు వాట్ మ్యూట్ యువర్ సెల్ఫ్.
Yes ma'am, yes.
Keep the mobile phones in the silent mode.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know, but I am admitting all the people.
సెట్ సరిగా చేసుకోండి, ఫోటో తిరిగిపోయింది. రైట్.
Okay ma'am.
యా గో. Very good morning, ma'am.
Morning.
Welcome to the webinar.
How is my voice today? Please ask your technical support if it is okay or there's an issue.
Asha sir.
I think for that I need to speak, say something.
Okay.
What best to speak with the current situation that we are all, facing, the pandemic.
Okay. Basha sir. Mutti sir.
చెప్పండి మేడం.
సార్, మేడం ది వాయిస్ ఎలా వస్తున్నది చెప్పండి. నిన్న కాస్త డిస్టర్బెన్స్ అయిందని చెప్పారు.
క్లియర్ గానే ఉంది మేడం. మేడం మాట్లాడుతుంటే విన్నాం.
Yesterday there was an issue, so I was.
Yes, madam. Now it's clear. It seems.
I was made host. I'm made host.
Lavanya, come to the middle of the screen.
Ma'am?
Yeah.
Come to the middle of the screen.
Ma'am, your voice is breaking, ma'am.
My voice is breaking. Oh my God.
Now it's clear.
Yeah. I said come to the middle of the screen, Lavanya.
Is it okay, ma'am?
Yes.
noticed that there are teachers also from various schools who have joined the, who will be joining the webinar.
Yes,
Not just, limited to college teachers, but also school teachers.
yes. This topic would be beneficial to everyone, isn't it?
Yeah.
The faculty as well as the students. Okay.
It's very relevant.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, madam.
Good morning. I think the lighting also is appropriate.
Yes, ma'am. You have got mini library at home?
Yeah, I have lots of books.
Yes, ma'am. Seems to be you are a voracious reader.
Not as much as we used to earlier, because there are there is so much of other administrative work that we are engaged in. So what is prescribed, that is what we are reading now. It's limited to only, prescribed syllabus reading.
Yes, ma'am. That's what is happening. Each one of us.
So yours is an aided institution?
Ma'am, actually, it was an aided institution 2 years back. Like now, it has become a private institution.
Okay.
So, for 69 years, it was an aided institution.
Okay. So there might be some senior teachers who are still on aided post.
Yeah, of course they are, but most of them, they are being transferred to the government colleges.
Okay.
How about your vaccinations and how it
I
has
don't
been
know.
scheduled?
My sons have gone. I think my husband and I will join it later.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We were a bit worried, like.
No, it was so incidental that it had to happen on the same day and the same time.
Yes, ma'am. Because that is also very important. To be frank, that is really important.
No, but I'd already committed to you all, so I thought.
Yes. Thank you so much. Murthy sir, YouTube లో ఎంతమంది జాయిన్ అయ్యారు?
45 members, ma'am.
ఇక్కడ మనకి Zoom లో 80 ఉన్నారు.
అవును ma'am.
So your college also has NAC accreditation?
Yes. So again, next year we will be going for next cycle.
Madam.
Yes, Pasha sir, this one screenshot. Pasha sir. Lavanya.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please. Pasha sir is taking the screenshot. Ma'am, the technical expert is taking the screenshot of all of us.
Okay.
Lavanya, your image.
Ma'am, I'm admitting students, ma'am, like they are waiting.
No, first we need to take the screenshot that he would do it. Moti sir would do it.
No, I don't know. I'm getting it.
Moti sir, మీరు తీసుకుంటున్నారా స్క్రీన్ షాట్?
మ్యామ్ ఆల్రెడీ అందరి తీసుకున్నాం మ్యామ్.
తీసుకున్నారా? మళ్ళీ నన్ను కాల్ చేశారు. తీసేసుకున్నారు కదా?
తీసేసుకున్నాం.
Murthy sir, am I the host? Nena host, sir.
Yeah, ma'am. Lavanya ma'am.
That's why like people they're asking to get admit. తీసేస్తారా మీరు నన్ను?
No ma'am, you are the host ma'am.
కానీ ఇప్పుడు మేడం మాట్లాడాలి కదా, మళ్ళీ మధ్యలో అడ్మిట్ చేయలేరు కదా.
అదే అందుకు
సార్
మేడం
లావణ్య మేడం ని హోస్ట్ చేశారు, ఇప్పుడు మేడం మాట్లాడాలి కదా.
మేడం
మళ్ళీ మేడం ఇట్లా అడ్మిట్ చేస్తారు అంటున్నాను నేను.
అది అడ్మిట్ చేసే పని ఏం లేదు మేడం, ఆటోమేటిక్ అడ్మిట్ అవుతుంది. మేము ఉంటాం కదా మేడం ఇక్కడ.
వెయిటింగ్ రూమ్ ఆప్షన్ తీసేసేయండి సార్, వాళ్ళు వెయిట్ చేస్తూ ఉన్నారు.
లేదు మేడం, ఆల్రెడీ ఇక్కడ మనకి 97 ఫుల్ అయిపోయారు.
నేను ఇప్పుడు అడ్మిట్ చేశాను సార్ వాళ్ళందరినీ.
మేడం కొంచెం ఆగండి మేడం, కొంచెం ఆగండి మేడం, తొందర పడతారు మేడం.
Shagin ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, did you keep the reminder like
Yeah.
to remind it?
I think at 10:45 or 11:40, 12:15, I think I kept the reminder.
Okay, right ma'am. You just told to remind you. That's
Yeah. So I'll just, modulate my lecture to yesterday. I was thinking because they're school teachers also. So I'll try to make it as simple as possible so that it can be, useful for both school teachers as well as college teachers.
Yes. And even for the students also, ma'am, because they are more anticipated and enthusiastic, because something which they will also be benefited.
Yeah.
Actually, we made our students to compulsorily attend this.
Okay. What we are noticing with the classes every day, though they are, logging in, whether they are really there or not, we have no idea at all. Because I have my, niece who stays with me. She is doing her BA at Villa Mary. So I see what she does with her classes. So I know, I presume all students are doing the same.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah, she just logs in and goes to sleep.
Yes. That's a problem.
మేడం కొంచెం సెలబ్రేషన్ సార్, స్క్రీన్ షాట్ తీసుకోవాలి సార్. శ్రీమణి మేడం
సార్
తల ఎత్తండి మేడం. మీరు తల తీస్తే ఎట్లా మేడం? ఒక్క నిమిషం ఆగండి. ఓకే మేడం.
Okay, shall we begin? It's 11:30.
Yes, madam. You can begin, madam.
Yeah.
Streaming start అయిందా? Yeah. Okay, Lavanya.
Yes, ma'am. Shall I start, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Streaming start అయిందా? Basha sir?
Start అయింది మేడం.
Yes.
A very good morning to one and all. On behalf of Badruka College of Commerce and Arts, I, Lavanya Sandiri, Assistant Professor of English, welcome you all to the national webinar on nurturing effective and self-directed learning among students, organized by Department of English and IQAC. It's my immense pleasure to welcome the speaker, Dr. Shagufta Shahin. Ma'am, thank you very much for your gracious acceptance. And I would extend warm welcome to all the participants. Without consuming much time, I request Mrs. Anupama Ma'am, Vice Principal, HOD of English, to address the gathering.
A very warm and pleasant morning to our distinguished speaker, Dr. Shagufta Shahin, faculty members, students, and esteemed participants. I welcome you all to the national webinar on nurturing effective and self-directed learning of students. I extend my earnest thanks to our speaker, Dr. Shagufta Shahin Ma'am, Professor of English and Dean International Students, Maulana Azad National Urdu University, for acknowledging our invitation and obliging us. We are grateful to you, ma'am, for honoring our invitation. Thank you very much. Before we move ahead, in a nutshell, let me share the history of Badruka College. Our college was founded in 1950 by philanthropist Raja Bankatlal Badruka. He rendered selfless services to society and always cherished a vision to reach out to the students, to mold their lives through education, thus giving birth to the prestigious institution, Badruka College of Commerce and Arts. It is a great matter of pride that our college has completed 7 decades and we have been serving the cause of higher education with dedication in the field of commerce. We take pride in saying that ours is the first commerce college to be affiliated to a small university. We have excellent teachers who support the students in reaching their potential. Today, the name Badruka has become synonymous with commerce education. Our strength is our students, and we leave no leaf unturned to instill good qualities to strengthen them for the future and mold them into responsible citizens. Coming to today's webinar, I hope Madam will enlighten us about the importance, need, benefits, and many more things about self-learning through her subject expertise. Looking forward to have a wonderful session on it. And I also thank and congratulate my department for coming together as a team to conduct this work. Thank you. Over to you, Lavanya.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I request Dr. Raki Rena Purkar, Associate Professor and IQAC Coordinator, to give a gist about IQAC cell. Ma'am, over to
I'm sorry, like we straight away will proceed to Mr. Shaila Prasad sir to give the profile of the speaker.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, one and all. I take pleasure of introducing our today's resource person, Dr. Shahin Ma'am, Professor of English and Dean International Studies, Maulana Azad National University, Kachiguda. And she is credited with 2 major publications, that is revisiting a critical study of novels of Quadran Haider and Facets, a collection of critical essays. And she has guided near about 8 PhD scholars and 18 PhD scholars. And when it comes on to Shahin Ma'am, she has been in this teaching field as an at different capacities for more than 25 years. And currently she is working for this Manu, and she is presently a dean and international studies chairperson to International Complaint Committee and chairperson advisory board of girls hostel at Manu. She is a member of board of studies and school board and MOU committee, IQAC, and student grievance redressal committee for School of Science. And much not to delay, I welcome ma'am to go ahead with her today's talk. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Mr. Shailendra.
Thank you, ma'am.
Shall I start?
Yeah, ma'am, please.
Good morning, Ms. Anupama, Mr. Bharat, Ms. Lavanya, Mr. Sanjay Kumar, Sri Mani. These are all the names that I noticed, and Mr. Shailendra.
Yeah.
And a warm welcome to all the participants who are not visible on the screen. I'm sure that you all might be present now. Now, I would like to begin my lecture by appreciating and commending the choice of topic that has been, zeroed down by the Badruka College, because it is very, very relevant to the times that we are all facing. Because, to make this point more emphatic, I would like to take the example of a child or rather a plant. We cannot, nurture the plant forever. We just, in the beginning, we try to just see to it that we nurture it so that we make it independent. A child starts from crawling, so we just try to see, hold the hand of the child till the child become independent. And then we leave the child out in the world to fend for themselves, knowing very well that we have initially fostered the right values, the right independence in the child. So also with the plant, we water it, we manure it, we use fertilizers for it, but we cannot make it grow. Whether it is the child, whether it is a student, whether it is a plant, it has to grow on its own. As teachers, we can only provide some kind of external guidance. And this has been, and this pandemic has taught us this, lesson very, very bitterly, that we cannot make our students dependent on us for teachers. So now we have to see how best we can make them independent, we can give them autonomy to survive in a world where regular classes looks, very, very, starting regular classes appears to be very, very bleak in the future. The role of the teacher in the past was, as we all know, very, very different. We know that, teachers were looked up upon as gurus, and, they were to a certain extent considered as second to parents or foster parents for that matter. But presently, fortunately, I might say that we have a changing equation with teachers. They have become more friendly. We don't have that kind of a distance between, teacher and student that, at least during my time, because we used to hold our teachers in awe. We used to put them on a pedestal and worship them, because we used to think, they were the oceans of knowledge for us. But today the atmosphere is different. The teacher has just become a facilitator, has become a mediator, is just there to support some kind of a learning and providing some kind of external guidance to become self, to see to it that they are self-guided. In a way, you have distance education, which also to a certain extent makes them provides support from outside, but it is a very, very generalized approach that is being taught in the distance education medium. Please, stop me if I go very fast. I have this problem of going at, very high, in terms of my speech. So please, if I'm going very fast, please tell me to slow down a bit. Now, what I'm trying to tell you is that in terms of providing some kind of independence to student, you are able to cater to the uniqueness of each student, because each student is unique. They have their own, varied needs. You cannot have a generalized approach, especially as what we are noticing during, in kind of this virtual teaching. So student approach is more of a kind of a student-centered. It has become more of a student-centered rather than a teacher-centered, approach. Now, before I begin, I just want to, us to understand the need really think of the importance and the necessity of self-directed learning or this independent learning. Why is it important? Apart from the pandemic, why else is this kind of fostering independence among students is very, very essential. We are being forced to do it because of the pandemic. Otherwise also, this independence is very, 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 very essential. No, naturally, if I am, reading on my own, just with some kind of external support, I feel motivated because I feel that whatever has been achieved is there's some kind of my input in what I have achieved. So motivation is the most important factor, in terms of the benefit of having an independent approach. It boosts your confidence. Because you feel it is your achievement. Naturally, when I'm writing an essay on my own, it boosts my confidence. It results in an improved performance. It helps me to recognize and manage my limitations, my weaknesses, because there I am there, concerned with myself. So it's just like I'm mirroring my own self. It provides direction. In terms of independent learning, you know where you're going, because the kind of learning that you are conscious of what you're learning. It's not something that's imposed on us. So there is a direction in the life of the student. When they are learning independently, it helps you to make self-reliant, and it also helps you to, resolve your problems as and when you approach them. Apart from, keeping the student engaged, flexible to choose what they want to read, when they want to read, and it inculcates a questioning spirit because you're on your own. Otherwise, what is happening is that you're just absorbing, but you're not actually, you're just observing, and there's no absorption as such. But this is, in fact, helps you to inculcate a kind of a questioning spirit. It also helps you to develop your attitude and your point of view, and makes you feel responsible because now you are on your own. Now, what I'm about to tell you as to how the ways and means to do this or acquire this is more or less what we have already, come to understand either through our trial or error method or whatever. Because of the pandemic, as teachers, as students, we have somehow managed to, troubleshoot our problems when we are trying to inculcate a kind of an independent approach towards studies among students. All of us that we have to. And what I'm trying to say, I don't think will be new to many of you, because as teachers, as students, we've all learned to, deal with the problems in terms of independent learning. Now, the first thing that because this is a webinar that has been organized by the English department, I will focus my lecture only in terms of acquisition of communication skills through an independent approach. The first thing that we need to understand is that the acquisition of communication skills, that is in English, is way different from the mother tongue. What you notice in mother tongue acquisition is more or less, approach which is not taught. There is no grammar that is taught there. It is what you hear and that you repeat. So there is a kind of a, in terms of communication skill, this kind of independent learning helps you to, move about in your learning gradually, step by step, rather than, in terms of let it be very, very gradual. And as teachers, as, your ideals, you all have an ideal that you need to follow an example. So also you need to have some kind of an environment which inspires you to learn independently. The teacher should always, not provide ready-made information to the student. Okay, some kind of a background support. Also encourage some kind of dissent, some kind of brainstorming, and a feedback that is provided. So we are there, but we are there in the background. The student is in the forefront now. Now, the various means that I have noticed that students are picking up, English. What I notice is that apart from, earlier during when we were students, we were told to read newspapers as much as possible. But what you notice is in newspapers in today's time, because we didn't have so much of the presence of TV and internet during our days. So the newspaper was our only window to picking up communication skills. but that was only the written form. Now, what I have noticed with most of my students is that, and also, I read somewhere that there was a Korean who just picked up English by watching all the episodes of the Friends serial on TV. That is a very good example of, picking up English. By watching English serials, these students are picking up very good English. And I can also take examples from, small kids whose parents speak the vernacular, the mother tongue at home, but they hardly know any mother tongue because all the time they are watching television and they're just speaking English, and that too accented English. I'm talking about Indian children growing up in an Indian background with parents who speak nothing but mother tongue, but because they've been so much exposed, especially because of the pandemic, they're all the time in front of the TV, in front of the cartoon, that they are speaking very good English, and not just communication, but also the attitudes, when to say what. They are just, indoctrinated in using English properly with the proper accent. At least we English, as I know, my generation, when we speak English, we have a very, mother tongue influence when we are speaking English. But this young generation, what I notice is that they are picking up very good English with the right kind of, intonation and the right, attitudes that they, and that is, we can conclude that, TV is not all that bad. It has been coming to the aid, especially for picking up communication skills. Now, in time that is spent on communication skills, we find that 70% of our time is spent on communicating, and that is a 30% of time which is spent on not communicating. In this 70% of communications that we do, again, if you divide it in terms of percentage, then you have the major portion that is devoted to listening, which is 45%, speaking, which is 30%, reading, which is 16%, and writing, which is 19%. Sorry, 9%. So writing is the most limitedly used skill of writing, and listening is the most widely used of means your skill of communication. Now, in terms of, because listening constitutes the major portion of a skill, communication skill, we need to understand the difference between listening and hearing. The background sound that you just heard is hearing. What you're doing to me is listening. So something that is there in the background that you hear, the sound of traffic, which you are not absorbing, but it is there all the time. It is, hearing. But what you pay attention to and absorbing, that is listening. So it is the most important constituent of your communication skill. It is being defined as the process of receiving and constructing meaning. So just not receiving, but also constructing meaning from and responding to spoken and non-verbal messages. So that is in terms of absorption, not just listening. But there are a lot of, obstacles to our listening, physical distractions, our negative attitudes. We are selective in what we hear. Some students especially are very, very selective in what they hear. They only hear what they want to hear. There are time constraints. We jump to conclusions. We overlook body language, tone, face, which is also a part of listening. Body language is also an important part of listening. Anxiety, anger, different language and accent, and our attention span. Sometimes it's very difficult to pick up the accent of, American accent or something, but we have to decode this accent in order to understand. So if we have to understand, we have to remember, we have to interpret, we have to evaluate, we have to respond, and also observe the non-verbal communication that are happening simultaneously while the speaker is speaking. So when you are listening, you just concentrate on the content. Don't go by concentrating on the delivery, because some speakers use so many gestures, or we might be distract you from observing the content. So concentrate on the content more more importantly, when you're listening to online lectures, listen for what is not said, which is very, very important. The pauses, the silences, that is also very, very important. Pick up those silences and pauses in between speech. And you also convey your listening to give a boost to the speaker. You put the speaker at ease. You desire to listen and you avoid being judgmental. Now, why are you all listening to me? Because you want to be informed, you want to understand, you want to acquire information, and maybe you're enjoying, if I'm not being very presumptuous, what I'm saying, and also you are learning at the same time. So these are the four, maybe reasons that you are listening to. Now, listening that you notice, like the best example you have, I mostly, because I, focus on youngsters, I take a lot of examples from TV and movies. So the best example for listening, for following instructions I can give you is Three Idiots, the scene where Amir Khan, performs or delivers a child just by listening over the phone. That's one of the example of following instructions. That you are listening, you can follow instruction by listening and do something like, being able to deliver a baby. But sometimes, as I told you, there are obstacles that you might encounter, especially when you are listening to people with accents, which might be very difficult because most of these accents, eat up joining words or conjunctions. So we find it difficult to concentrate on accent speech that is accented. So you have to listen more, with a lot of attention in terms of intonation, in terms of pronunciation, because that is how we pick up language. The way we pick up language is only when you listen to them, what kind of intonation to use when you're questioning, what kind of intonation to use when you are shocked, when you're surprised, when you're happy, and also the pronunciation. That's very, very important. Thanks to the phone, thanks to internet, we can just put in click in the word and we get the pronunciation. So that is a very, very easy way to pick up the pronunciation. Earlier we were at loss, because during our time we didn't know what, because there was not too much of TV, there was not too much of we just had to know phonetics, go to dictionary, and then try to find the pronunciation of the word. And also your culture also plays an important role for us in terms of listening, because sometimes in terms of irony, in terms of satire, we may not be able to pick up because we are not familiar with the culture of the time. So in this way, listening, these are the various strategies that you can imbibe in trying to improvise your listening skills, because listening is the door for your better communication skills. It constitutes the major percentage of, your language skills. So first, be a good listener. That is very, very important. Okay, and because of the pandemic, you have access to, supposing you don't like listening to me, you can just, switch on to someone overseas, listen to a better person speaking on the topic. You have access to, a variety of teachers, variety of accents who can focus on that topic. So I cannot emphasize more the importance of listening skill, because it is, and students, we all have experience, and as teachers also we are experiencing that it's very difficult for students to make students concentrate on listening. Their mind wavers, our mind wavers when we're in class. So come back to class, focus back, and try to concentrate, because that is I think the major step to acquiring your communication skills. Now, moving on to speaking skills, what are obstacles? You don't see that a child observes the parents speaking and picks up vocabulary. But in terms of communication skill, because it is not acquired through social interaction like our mother tongue is done, it is done only through academic atmosphere. So we need to first of all boost your vocabulary, because it's not offered at home. That is, acquisition of vocabulary, if you just compare it to what the kind of vocabulary that we have in terms of mother tongue, nobody has taught us our mother tongue. We have just acquired it through, observing. And also the pronunciation. Because when we are speaking a word, sometimes we may not be very sure about the pronunciation. So though we might know the word, we might know the meaning of the word, because we think that we'll be ridiculed because we don't know the pronunciation. So we might feel a little, hesitant to use the word. So now you have dictionary with you, you have phones with you, you have internet. Just Google the word, listen to the pronunciation, and try to use it in your speech. Grammatical error is also one of the factor because of which maybe we might be, a little hesitant to speak in English. I know, but again, I tell you here, emphasize, please concentrate on content first. The grammatical aspect will come later. First, concentrate that your message reaches out. I don't know Telugu, but I can understand very well because I know the content words there. But I don't know, when I speak, people laugh at me because my gender is very horrible. And my endings are also all, very horrible. But I make my, I make sense to people when I speak, because I know all the content words to speak, and can also understand what they are saying. So in terms of, speech, these are some might be physiological factors, a cleft lip, or, in terms of shy, somebody might be shy to speak. There might be environmental factor where you might feel, at a loss to speak. You might feel that the atmosphere is not congenial enough for you to speak. So vocabulary, the best example that you see to pick up vocabulary, take the example from your mother tongue. As a child, what does the child do? He just picks up. He doesn't, whenever his mother asks or her mother asks him, they don't go to a dictionary. They just imbibe it. They internalize the words that are spoken by their parents. So also in terms of acquiring a second language or English, you internalize the words that your teacher is saying or you're listening on the internet, and you recognize the words and you repeat it. So, in terms of observation, recognition, and repetition, these are the three ways that you can add on to and enhance your vocabulary. Now, how do we go about adding on to our vocabulary? Is, first of all, most of the words that you see, even as a teacher of English language, I cannot, claim that I know the meanings of all the words. But I can also know the meaning of the word from the gist, from the context. So don't think that it is necessary for you to know the meaning of all the words that is there. From the context, use your confidence at reading between the lines, trying to gauge the meaning from the context. Because we cannot know the meaning of all the words. I'm sure in a mother tongue also we don't know the words of meaning of many words, but from the context we try to get at the meaning. So also with English, the dictionary, the thesaurus is already there, always there for us. I gave you the examples of books and reading. With pandemic, we have a lot of time on hand to read books, to watch television, and you maintain a vocabulary notebook. Any new word that you come across, write it in your notebook, write in your diary, which is, you have kept only for vocabulary. Certain words we connect with a schema, with a previous knowledge of the word. You might not know this word, but you know something that is related to the word, something that is related to its synonym, or if nothing works out, you just associate it with some kind of a, your mother tongue, or, you create a mental image of the word. The word that you see, you just create a mental image that will remain in your memory forever. That is the best. Picturize the word in your mind. That is how you'll retain the meaning of the word. You can play word games on phone. You have, all the time I find that Wordscape is a very good, app on mobiles that you can play to enhance and, improvise your vocabulary. I know about Wordscape, but there might be several other games on several other apps that you might have that you can download on the internet. That is what now, as students, as children, you all might be doing it because my children are doing all the time. When I tell them not to be on the phone all the time, they say, no, we are playing this game. You told us to, this game is good for enhancing our vocabulary. We are playing this. So, it is also has certain kind of other uses that children are doing, because Now, though they're watching TV because they think because that is, they're using it as an excuse to sometimes, maybe not all the time. I cannot just generalize it. I'm sure many of us are also picking up good English by playing on, over the telephone or watching television. So you can have quiz and crossword. Every day in newspapers, you get crossword. Earlier, we didn't have time to, solve the crossword. So now you have all the time on hand. Play quiz, play this, you have this quiz and you also do the crossword. And most importantly, when you come across a new word, use it as often as possible. Okay, if you just use it once and forget it, just give it a moment. But use it as often as possible. That is, repeat it, try to bring it as much as possible in your speech so that it becomes a part of your, vocabulary. Don't just, let it rust with you. Let it be there always. So this, in terms of speech, as I told you, and most importantly, not to be embarrassed about our mother tongue influence. We are doing a great, I would say, honor to the English speakers by speaking their language. Sorry to say, as English teachers, I'm sure we cannot hide behind this, excuse, but that is a way of encouraging students. Okay, we have our mother tongue influence, but how many English people are speaking our mother tongue? And even when they do, can you really understand when they are speaking, what kind of Telugu they are speaking, what kind of Urdu they are speaking? It's so very, heavily accented. So when we are speaking the language, actually, we are doing a kind of a credit to the language. So be very rest assured. There is no singular English these days. They are plural Englishes. We are adding on by speaking English language. We are adding on to the, number of speakers of English. Do I make myself clear? Is it fine? Okay. Now, in terms of speech, what is more important is the accuracy, especially maybe not so for others, but as students of English and as teachers of English, accuracy, nothing can replace accuracy. Accuracy is very, very important. Fluency is also equally important, and for which I have all the time, my students keep telling me that they find it very difficult to keep pace with my lecture because they always complain that I'm very, fast when I speak. So I'm trying to, reduce my speed, or sometimes when you're speaking, you get caught up, you forget. And most importantly, articulation. You have to be articulate. You cannot go around beating about the bush and not come to the point at all. Whatever you have to say, nobody has time to listen to a lengthy conversation. Be, specific, be focused in your speech, be coherent, be cohesive. Okay, because I think that maybe if I give a long lecture, people might go to sleep. So you have to be very careful that you speak to the point. And especially when you're speaking, please concentrate on native speakers in terms of picking up their tone, their intonation, their, in terms of you should know when to raise your voice, when to lower your voice. You have to, according to the kind of speech you are engaged in, you have to use your intonation. Your tone should be very, very appropriate. When you're happy, your tone, it should indicate, I need not say I'm happy. My tone will indicate that I am happy. So also I'm sad. Mostly what happened for sad songs, there is nothing, there might not be anything sad in the lyrics. But the tone is such that you know that it is a sad song. So your intonation when you're speaking is very, very important. Just knowing the language is not enough. You have to have the proper, intonation and tone for that. And if you want to make it your, talk interesting, use humor, use, proverbs, idioms, use a small story to make your point so that people feel that they're able to connect, they're able to relate it outside it. Use as many gestures as possible, and you have to encourage to the students to connect with you. You have to interact with them. And most importantly, as students, we have to encourage feedback, encourage dissent, encourage different perspectives from students. And so there's a brainstorming at the end, which is very, very important, especially in regular classes, especially now in online classes. Also, in terms of address the entire group, you have to also see to it that, especially in terms of native speakers, especially in terms of people who are not native speakers of English, we have a problem with register. We don't know which kind of register to use where. If I'm talking to English class, I know the kind of register that I use here because I know these are English, medium students. But I'm supposing I'm giving a lecture maybe to a sociology class, economic class, or science class. I'll have to draw analogy from their stream so that they are able to connect. So use the proper register depending on whom you are addressing, which will not be taught anywhere. You have to acquire. Know how to address the kind of their schemata, their background information. How do you relate to what you're presenting now? And as I told you, a static body language will become very, very boring. Use your just not your oral or your phonemic organs for your speech. Try to use as much body language. Try to make eye contact. Try to draw attention to them, to the gestures when you're making. When you do this, this is also an important communication that I'm. So this is very, very important. And most importantly, please, please, please practice. If you just keep information to yourself and don't practice, it is not going to help you a lot. So in terms of speaking, what you can do is read aloud. Your sound, your oral speech organs will get acclimatized to you listening to the sound of the words. So no matter what to open up, especially in terms of non-native speakers of English, we have to read aloud so that certain words which might not be there in a mother tongue, we get used to taking out those sounds, especially when you are reading it aloud. We know what sounds should come out from where. You can also narrate a story through pictures to yourself, or what you notice best example of picking up or speaking is when children are reciting nursery rhymes. That is how these English words, they are framing their pronunciation. So that is also a way of making them speak out in the English language. When they are able to, intonation is also taught through these nursery rhymes. And you give a self introduction. Now suppose we have a paucity of time here. Otherwise, in terms of introducing yourself, that is the way of speaking. Nobody can give an introduction about yourself better than yourself, and that is a way of speaking also. So you have to be a good listener for pronunciation. You have to engage in role play on virtually. You can engage in role play. One of you can be a customer, the other can be a shopkeeper, whatever, in terms of asking direction, asking for a, play all these kind of role play virtually on screen, maybe because you might not have time in class. All this you can do on virtual. Now I'll move very quickly towards emergent literacy. That is the independent reading and writing, which children, learn crucial skills to acquire independently for reading and writing. So these emergent skills, that is, you are acquiring on your own how to read and how to write. There is no teacher. You learn from your experience, you learn from your childhood as to how to pick up your reading skills. So I'm moving on very quickly to reading skills. There are three aspects here. The reading to, that is read to. As children, I'm sure our parents read bedtime stories to us. That is being read to, and they read with us when we grew up a little, and now we are reading by ourselves. So they are read to, read with, and read by. The most prevalent problem that you notice is decoding in terms of reading the word to the sound. That is why I emphasize reading aloud. So in speaking out, also in reading out, please, in terms of decoding the word you read aloud, there is the problem of fluency. Naturally, the more you practice, the more fluent you become, because the organs of speech get accustomed to taking out those sounds. There's vocabulary. Naturally, if I keep on using the same word repeatedly, then it gets very, very boring. So you have to add on to your bank of vocabulary words. Speech, which is I accept is my problem. So you have to see that you are very, very, at pace. That student, because listening is not just listening, it has to get registered. By the time it registered there, maybe the teacher, if she moves on to the next sentence, the first itself is not being processed. So give time to yourself, to the student to process it here. Comprehension passages are very, very important for us to know, because that is also, reading, comprehending. So whether you have comprehended the questions at the end of the passage, and the level of the text. If I prescribe a text which is beyond the level of a student, they might not, find it very interesting to read. So the kind of reading that is there is very, very important. It should interest the reader. And naturally, as I told you right in the beginning, every student has different tastes, have different learning capabilities. So depending on you are autonomous now. You pick up your reading material. You pick up the choice of subject that you enjoy. Nobody is forcing you now. Okay, apart from the prescribed test which has to be read, who is stopping you from, improvising your reading by picking up material that you enjoy and read it? And you note down questions while you're reading, and at that moment, just don't refer to the internet or the dictionary. Later on, you can pick up these, words, any words that you might come across of which meaning you don't know. There is book review. There is, you can have independent book clubs now virtually. We have a book club which has members from all over the world. We have never met each other. We have just formed a book club. We all read. We all discuss. We all discuss a book every week, which we have read, we have found interesting, and we share it with others, so that we are able to read more books, because somebody gives a review of the book. We like it, so you want to acquire it and read. So book clubs and book reviews that you can do, and also discussions on these book clubs to encourage this kind of reading. As friends, you can have your own book clubs. Now I move on to the obstacles that that you come into writing, because as I told you, writing, though it is the most limitedly used writing skill, but it is the most complex of the 4 writing skills. Okay, it constitutes only 9% of the communication skill, but it's the most complex, because many people can speak a language. Some people can speak and read a language, but not all of us to be fluent in a language. To show that you're proficient in language, you have to know all the 4 skills, and that shows that you are literate in that language. So many of us might be able to speak, read, and listen and understand, but they may not be able to write. So this is a very, very complex and complicated aspect of communication skills. Here again, the problem with grammar, because at least like, these native speakers of English, they get away with speaking the most horrible kind of English, because they do away with grammar, but they speak so fast that all their flaws get, covered in this fluency. But in writing, you cannot do that. Writing, it has to be, because it's written part, you have to be very sure of your grammar. Because I didn't emphasize this in speaking, and when I said that forget about grammar, just concentrate on content. But here, grammar is very, very important. It has to be correct. Your spelling has to be proper. There is again a whole lecture on how to improvise your spelling, and your lack of proficiency might be, you feel an obstacles in your writing skill. It requires a physical and mental coordination. It's not just your motor skills that are engaged. You have to organize your thoughts as you're writing, especially that time constraint, 3 hours. How do you organize your thoughts and then make it articulate, make it very concise? And you have to structure your paragraphs also, so that they connect to one another. All this is mentally you're doing while you're writing the answer in the exam, or otherwise when you're preparing a paper or a research article. So you can, practice by writing half a sentence, completing that sentence later, writing only half an answer, completing the answer later, And you can just begin with words at first and try to make sentences using the words to see whether they are properly correct. So in writing, a guided composition is what is done, especially at school level. A composition is given. There are words which are hyphenated with in terms of key ideas which we need to build using the connecting sentences. That is one way of improvising your writing skills. What I found very, very profitable was asking my students to write a diary or write a page in a journal. Every day maintain a journal. So that way they also have their notes. Otherwise, as students, I know we are all very lazy to write notes. So I just tell them to write a journal. What has happened in the class? Just write a journal. This is what happened in the class. So it is also, they will, helps to store whatever they have learned and also at the same time have their notes. Academic writing and creative writing. These are again a very important topic as students of English, where you are all the time, the answers that you're writing in exams or as research papers are academic writing. And the kind of creative writing that you write, especially students of English, your poetry, your short stories, that is all an example of creative writing. So again, there are a lot of ways and means how to concentrate on improving your academic writing and your creative writing. We have, please, if you want some tips, you can contact me. You can have my number from Ms. Anupama. Now I come to the last part of my lecture, where I think somebody has also raised that question, and I want to use a very what should I say important idiom where it is used for British monarchy. The queen is dead, long live the queen. Okay, when a queen dies, so they say the queen is dead. That is how they announce when the queen dies. But they cannot just stop there, because they have to announce that monarchy is not over. Then you have to hail the the crowning of the next queen. So the queen is dead, long live the queen. So this is that we are talking about the next queen. So also with teacher, has the teacher become dispensable? Can we say that the teacher is dead? There's no role for teacher anymore. With virtual learning, with what is there on the internet, is the teacher something that has become an obsolete? Students don't need teachers at all. What do you say? Do you think they become irrelevant? Can you acquire all the knowledge and information that is there from the internet and get away with it? Please remember, whatever is there on the internet is being prepared by teachers. Okay, so you cannot just say that you don't. Yeah. So in terms of, I think some of the questions I'm going to answer like this, that in terms of acquiring values, in terms of acquiring different perspectives, in terms of inculcating values, the computer, the internet cannot replace the teacher. What we learn in classes is not just information and knowledge. You learn a lot of other things which might not very obviously taught to us. Now, what is being told is that if you want to kill the pleasure of reading a book, you have to prescribe it. Then nobody would want to read it, because you have to write a paper on it. So the best thing is to just, you tell them, you write. That's what I tell my students. Forget about marks, forget about questions, read the book, read the novel, enjoy it as a story, read a drama, think that you're watching a movie, read a poem and think that you're listening to a song. Don't forget about writing an exam about it. Forget about questions. I'm not worried about questions. I'm not worried about exam. Think that you are enjoying. See, and English is the best, discipline, because you get a degree as students. You get paid as a teacher to do something that you enjoy. To watch a movie, to read a novel, to listen to a poem, to watch a drama. We are getting a degree. Isn't that very, very interesting? So forget about, leave aside questions and exams, just enjoy the text. So the teacher, as I repeat that you might think the teacher has become obsolete, but then, there are many other things that you pick up in a class other than just bookish knowledge. in terms of values that I imbibe, in terms of peer pressure that you reach, in terms of competition that is there in the class, in terms of attitudes and tolerance for accepting other points of view, which you might not have through internet. So there are other things that you acquire during the course of, being in a class with a teacher in front of you. I think that is here where I, close my lecture. If it is all right, I'll just,
Thank you, ma'am.
address some
Thanks
of the
for...
questions that have been addressed to me.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you.
Shall I?
Yeah, ma'am. Thanks to Dr.
So,
Shagafta Shahin, ma'am. And when it comes on to your elaborative talk, made us to take away many inputs, and your talk has simplified our entire the ELT English language teaching and deliverables from your end, simplified all the LSRW skills, and how best a teacher in the pandemic situation comes up with different encounters that they have to come up. So you have answered all of the things, and your elaborative talk has given a new approach towards how to handle the things of online teaching and all. At the same time, there are a few more questions which I will take a little bit of time, and we will end up the session very quickly with encountering with 2 or 3 questions. The first one, ma'am, as it goes that as this pandemic situation, everybody is going through YouTube channels and this and that. So when a teacher goes on teaches for 1 hour and it is going to be one way of teaching. So does it require more brainstorming activities, or does it require more examples while comes down to English teaching? Does it require more brainstorming activities, or else does it require more examples of activities or structures, grammar? What is your comment on that?
thank you. What I would say is that giving, like you might have noticed from my lecture that I always use examples for my lecture. But these, I don't stop at these, examples. You have to use these examples to brainstorm. Okay, so just don't limit yourself to, but without examples, just teaching theoretically is not going to get you results. You have to relate it to their everyday life through examples, and maybe as much as possible related, or then you can open the ground, the ground for brainstorming. So I would always emphasize the use of relating to practically in the use of communication skills, and not just limiting it to theory, but through examples, and then move on to using these examples to brainstorm.
Yeah, and another,
I hope I've answered the question.
When the teacher, right now everybody learning many things, as you in your talk also you have ended up with answer, but a little bit clarity on that part, that as the students are learning many things through YouTube and all the channels, right, and teacher is an unavoidable factor in entire teaching process. So what are the add-on qualities that teacher need to come up now to handle pandemic and post-pandemic situation? Because students can learn many things on YouTube, and so how far the teacher need to be equipped to handle current situations?
See, teacher as of now cannot ever think of going to the class unprepared. Let me be very frank with you. Students come with a lot of information because they've already garnered enough information from watching, internet. So you have to, earlier, if you have read a book and you've taught a book, because the syllabus is such that it has not been changing for years, you don't need to, prepare for the class. A teacher could go unplanned, unprepared to the class in the past. But today, because knowledge is at the tips of the students, we need to be prepared. So first of all, it is not just boosting the students, it is boosting also and keeping the teachers on their toes to be prepared for any kind of question that might come, because the students are coming prepared, and in a way that way, by watching the internet or whatever, they are at least becoming interactive in class rather than remaining passive. So I would always, when you're teaching a novel, I would advise and always recommend teachers to, if it has been adapted to a movie, to show the movie, because that will help us to, discuss various aspects. So you can always relate it to internet, because now with MOOCs program and all that, it is becoming becoming more virtual. Learning is becoming more and more virtual. So we can always, as teachers, facilitate and act as a mediator between books, between YouTube and the students. We are just becoming mediators now. We are facilitators for them to improvise their knowledge and maybe answer the questions they might have based on what they have watched on internet.
Yeah, ma'am. One more last question. Whether this self-learning has role of parent as well as teachers. Earlier we used to, they used to come to the college and everything, we used to be a guide and all. Now what is the role the parents need to do for making them self-learning?
I think it is putting a lot of pressure on parents. As a parent, I can also vouch for it. Okay, because we are all the time now, maybe intruding their privacy. The students might feel they were better off at school and colleges rather than at home, because they're under the scrutiny of their parents all the time. But even as parents, we have not taken on the role of a teacher also, because we need to explain to them certain things, especially at maybe in areas and disciplines where you can. So you have to read up first, be prepared, because naturally neither a teacher nor a parent want to cut a sorry figure in front of the children saying they don't know about it. So, and children are very, very inquisitive. They come with all sorts of questions you might not be prepared for. So as parents, we are taking on the role, like, earlier, as I told you in the past, teachers took on the role of the parent. It is now a kind of, I think, more of a reversal kind of a role. Parents are doing more of a job of a teacher, being a hands-on teacher all the time, providing information, clarification, because that you cannot access the teacher all the time in virtual classroom or otherwise also. So, they are on their toes. I've seen parents all around me doing wonderful job as teachers. And in the course of this pandemic, they are honing their skills as teachers. Many of them will realize that they are very good, and qualified to become teachers themselves.
Thank you, ma'am. Still few more questions are there, and we will send you that one so that you can revert back us, and we will thank you much for your talk. And I request the convener to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. A very good afternoon to one and all. I take the privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this occasion. We are very thankful to the guest of the day, Dr. Shagufta Shaheen, Professor of English and Dean International Studies, Maulana Azad, National Urdu University, for allocating her valuable time to us and also enlightening us with her lecture. Madam, your presentation was truly enriching and informative. You have made a day, ma'am. Thank you, madam. We are thankful to our management and Director General, sir, for giving the permission and extending the continuous support in organizing this webinar. We are grateful to our principal, Dr. Mohan Kumar, sir, for being the source of motivation for all of us. I also thank our Vice Principal and Head of the English Department, Mrs. Anupama ma'am, for supporting and coordinating at every step of the webinar. I thank the coordinators of today's webinar, Mr. Shaila Prasad and Mrs. Lavanya, for their efforts and coordination. I also thank our technical staff, Mr. Hayat Basha and Mr. Murthy, for helping us in the smooth conduction of the webinar. Last but not the least, our special thanks to all our participants for being a part of the webinar, without whom this webinar would not have been possible. I thank you all once again. Thank you.
Ms. Anupama, if you can share the responses or any questions that later on, if the students have, you have my number, you can please, text them to me or mail them to me.
Yes, ma'am, definitely. We really had a wonderful session, ma'am. We would always cherish this. We really got to learn so many things, and it was really great listening to you. Thank you.
It's
so
only
much,
the time constraint where I had to skip so many things and, to make my point, but fine, okay.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your time.
Thank you for giving me
Thank
the
you,
opportunity.
ma'am.
Nice meeting you all. I hope we meet, physically and in person rather than virtually all the time. I hope things get improvised soon. Thank you.
Yeah. Shaila Prasad sir. Shaila Prasad sir. Hello. Shaila Prasad sir.
హలో మేడం.
Sir ఉన్నారా?
శైల ప్రసాద్ సార్ లేరు మేడం, కట్ అయ్యారు, లాగౌట్ చేశారు.
అది ఫీడ్బ్యాక్ లింక్ పంపించామా?
పంపించారు సార్, సార్ మెసేజ్ పెట్టారు, మరి అది అందులో లింక్ వెళ్ళింది.
అందరినీ మీరు డిలీట్ చేశారు కదా అది?
ఏది మేడం?
మిగతా పార్టిసిపెంట్స్ అందరినీ మనమే ఉన్నాం.
లేదు లేదు మేడం, అందరూ కనెక్ట్ అయి ఉన్నారు.
ఉన్నారా?
ఓకే మేడం. సార్ వచ్చారు మేడం, శైల ప్రసాద్ సార్.
Shaila Prasad sir, I was to ask you about the feedback link.
In the chat box. In the chat box, can you check once? Murthy sir, make పంపిస్తాను ఆగండి. ఫీడ్బ్యాక్ లింక్ ఆల్రెడీ కాపీ చేసి పేస్ట్ చేసి పంపించాను.
అవును సార్, అది వచ్చింది. కాకపోతే లావణ్య మేడం కానీ శ్రీమణి మేడం కూడా ఆ లింక్స్ పంపించండి, ఎందుకంటే గ్రూప్స్ వాళ్ళు ఉంటారు కదా మేడం, వాళ్ళు.
పంపిస్తాను, ఒక్క నిమిషం. డిపార్ట్మెంట్ లో పెట్టేస్తాను, మా డిపార్ట్మెంట్ దాంట్లో పెట్టేస్తా అయిపోతుంది.
ఒకసారి మేడం, అది అనుపమ మేడం అడిగి ఒకసారి పెట్టండి.
అదే పంపించేస్తాను. పవర్ పోయింది ఇక్కడ, చాలా తలనొప్పి అయిపోయింది.
మూర్తి సార్, మిగతా వాళ్ళందరినీ తీసేయండి.
ఎస్ మేడం.
మన మట్టుకే పెట్టండి.
తీస్తున్నా మేడం. వాళ్ళు మళ్ళీ కనెక్ట్ అవుతున్నారు.
Thank you, Srimani, Shaila Prasad sir, Lavanya, Sneha Kiran, Subhiya Nausheen, for your wonderful support. Everybody has been very cooperative and you took up the work very well, and you have really made our day, and you have really made the webinar successful. Without you all, or without your support at every step, probably we could not make it. And our special thanks to Murthy sir, Basha sir, and today Bharat sir has also joined us. Really sir, it really went on very well, smoothly, without any hitch, without any hindrance. Thank you all.
Thank you madam.
Thank you ma'am.
So I expect the same kind of support and cooperation like in our future activities which we take up. Thank you so much.
Sure ma'am.
Really చాలా స్మూత్ గా అయిపోయింది. చాలా ఈజీగా స్మూత్ గా. నాకు అనిపిస్తుంది ఇంత 1 hour 1.5 hour పెట్టుకుంటేనే ఇట్ వుడ్ బి ఈజీ ఫర్ ఎవ్రీవన్ ఏమో అనిపిస్తుంది.
Yes ma'am.
But she made it very simple and clear.
So your voice is breaking again.
సార్ అక్కడ సిగ్నల్ ఉండదు మేడం సరిగాని.
She made her simple and better to impress one. He understands on the.
Yes sir, she made
to point.
Yeah,
to the point very clear.
Yeah, to the point like actually she spoke, because most of the people they do not know what does it mean like actually self-learning, like what is it? She really made it so simple, like from the students' point of view and even from the teachers' point of view, how we need to take it and how they need to take it. That's really good. Like, she made it very simple. It was really awesome. Okay, thank you then. Just I'm quitting. Murthy sir, అయిపోయినట్ట. Shall I take leave?
ఎస్ మేడం, క్లోజ్ చేస్తున్నాం మేడం మేము కూడా.
Okay,
Okay.
right.
థ్యాంక్ యూ మేడం.
Thank you, ma'am.
మేడం మేడం థ్యాంక్ యూ.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Srimani.
sir. Ma'am.
Srimani, one more thing, ma. We need to give it to the press.
Okay,
I
ma'am.
just want the short write-up. No,
Okay,
vinu madam ni.
Okay, ma'am.
ఏమేమి అనిందో కనీసం like 5 important points, like what she focused or emphasized on.
Okay, ma'am.
రాసేసి నాకు పంపియండి.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, okay, ma'am.
సార్ మీరు స్క్రీన్ షాట్ తీసుకున్నప్పుడు క్లారిటీగా వచ్చింది అది పెట్టి ఇవ్వండి సార్, మా ఫోటోస్ స్పీకర్
ఓకే ఓకే మేడం.
క్లియర్ గా.
ఓకే మేడం.
ఒక స్క్వేర్ టైప్ లో వస్తే కొద్దిగా ఈజీగా ఉంటుంటది.
నేను చేసి పంపిస్తాను మేడం, తీసి పంపిస్తాను. భరత్ మొబైల్ నుంచి నేను కొన్ని తీసాను, అవి పంపిస్తాను చూడండి.
ఓకే సార్. అందరు కాస్త నవ్వుతున్నప్పుడు అప్పుడు తీసారు కదా.
కాదు మేడం, అది సెపరేట్ స్పీకర్ మాట్లాడుతున్నప్పుడు అవి కొన్ని తీసాము మేము అందరివి. నేను పంపిస్తాను చూడండి మేడం.
ఓకే, అన్ని పెట్టేసేసి పంపిస్తాను.
ఓకే మేడం, రైట్ మేడం. సెషన్ క్లోజ్ చేస్తున్నాం మేడం.
చేసేయండి.